Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome once again to Renew Your Spirit. And I am, as always, your host, Lynn Gavin. Today, I'm really happy to have with us Shirley Bloethe, and I know that's how she pronounces her name because I just asked her. It, and Shirley, it's so nice to have you with us. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I was pleasantly surprised when I received the email. And then I saw that you were at the Pine Grove 2 days after me. So I was like, oh,
I know.
I wish I could have gotten there, but I didn't get to see you in person. So I apologize for that.
This will have to do. This will do.
This week wasn't gonna happen.
Well, I'm glad you made it today. Thank you.
Yeah, today works.
So tell me a little about yourself. I mean, how did you start? Where did you start? Did you have inklings as a kid, or how did all this?
Not at all.
No, I didn't either.
Yeah, not at all. Well, I guess I'll start from more of an understanding of spiritualism, because that's really where I seem to have more of a connection to understanding. Basically, everybody has these abilities, right? Yeah. And that I've pretty much followed my intuition, even when it wasn't easy to do so in the past, before I really understood intuition the way that I do today. Mm-hmm. And I guess the most important thing probably was I looked at life as, I call God, so my higher power. And I always felt like God would never give me more than I could handle. There was that sense inside of me that I had even when I was younger, and I didn't really connect it or think anybody else had anything different, because of course, whatever you are or you think everybody else is the same.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I really didn't give it a lot of thought, except I knew that, I was a positive thinker from early on. I was a voracious reader, and I still am to this day. I loved self-help stuff. I loved metaphysical stuff. I loved astrology. I had friends that were real big into astrology. So that was kind of my first foray into kind of understanding the world in a little bit bigger picture. And when I got introduced to like the spiritualist churches and mediums and people who clearly were able to easily access the information, I was intrigued as always. Even when I was younger, I remember my mom, probably when I was a teenager, going to see a psychic or going to see somebody. I didn't give it a lot of thought, and I never actually went either at that time, but I just thought it was always fascinating and great that, people could do that. And I knew there were charlatans out there. I recognize that there's, two sides of the coin, so to speak, of all this stuff, but also that there clearly are people who have a gift and are able to be a pure vessel and be able to truly share that with others. And that I thought was great that people were able to do that, because I think in the big picture, and maybe most people are like me, you always want to be helpful. I want to be of service in some form. And I thought it was great that people who could do that could be of service in that form for others. And so as I delved more into the spiritualist churches and started attending on a regular basis, I became friends with hundreds, literally now, of people who are mediums or psychics or intuitives or whatever you want to call it. People who are very connected and are able to, really have that sense of, not necessarily looking at the future, but speaking to those that have passed and those kinds of things. So I thought that was always fascinating. And over the years, that's just developed more and more. I've gone to lots of classes to develop my own abilities, but I don't want to do them as a profession or for compensation or anything like that. I literally just want to be able to connect better for myself, for me. And that's good enough for me. I feel like the other gifts that I have that have my ability to connect people with what they're looking for are really where my strengths lie. And so I pretty much enjoy doing that more than anything that might have to do with a reading or anything like that. Although I do get messages. So it's not the same as when people can sit down in front of a medium and give them a 20-minute message, you know. It's not that. Actually, my last class that I took, they call me the one-word medium because
Okay.
I can do it. It is something that I need to really focus on in order to do it. And it takes me sometimes 2 or 3 minutes just to get that one word. But when it does come, apparently it's quite profound for that person. So it isn't like I can do a 20-minute spiel on anybody or any type of visit, so to speak. But that's kind of where I'm at. Sometimes we joke about me getting to 2 words one of these days, but that's okay with me. That's not where I want to head. So it's fine.
So you don't do readings at church at all?
I don't. No. I give messages in terms of a sermon, or what do you want to call it, like that, which I just did recently for the church in Stores that just recently started. I think they're about a year open now. They meet monthly only. And so I was invited to be a guest speaker last Sunday there. And so, I'll do that part of it, but I'm not someone who can just, go to somebody in the congregation and give them a message. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I noticed you're a member of the Spiritual Church of Love and Light.
Yes, I'm the assistant pastor there at this time. It was a temporary position for 6 months, but it's turned into a 1.5 years because of the pandemic and other happenings in the world. But we are meeting again in person on the first and third Sundays of the month at our facility again in Farmington, which is great. And the other weeks we do Zoom, but we do Zoom concurrent with our physical meeting.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, we do that now too. So that's been working out. Actually, our congregation has grown quite a bit in the last 1.5 years with a lot of people that come in online. And you know what the beautiful part is, and I'll invite you sometime too, we can have people from anywhere.
I know.
On our services now, which we couldn't always do that before.
I know it. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Yeah, we have
a lot more opportunities to hear people from all over. We have a lady from California coming in. I don't remember the dates, but and people from wherever they are on the other Sundays that we don't meet in person are able to meet with us that way, and it's wonderful. Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
Oh, that was Dan in Aristea's church.
Originally Dan and Aristea's. Then when they moved out to Illinois to be with family, and the job changes and things that happened actually quite quickly, as it turned out, unexpectedly quicker than they thought it would be. Turned it over to Reverend Andre Osborne, and he's the main pastor. And we have a board, and it's functioning quite well, which is great news.
Good.
For nowadays, anyways.
Good.
I'm happy that it's grown. Yeah. I originally was just somebody who gave them. I used to own a banquet facility, and church actually started in my banquet facility on Sundays. They rented from. That's how it ended up happening, because they were looking for a space once they formed the church and couldn't find anything, and so I offered it, and that was in Plainville at the time.
Yeah.
And so that's where our first. It's been 7. It's coming up on 8 years, I think, now.
Yeah.
But yeah, our first meeting at church, our first service was at my banquet facility.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. That was your introduction to it.
Well, I'd already been going to the Newington church for quite some time.
Okay.
And then, because they're only the second and fourth Sunday of the month.
Yeah.
And so it was nice to have something to fill in that other Sunday. And so then I started going, well, first I offered it, obviously, because they were looking for a space, but then I started going there as well. And so I continued. And now I'm more part of the church. I was not on the board up until about 2 years ago. But I was always helping them in whatever way that I could, because we ended up having to move a couple of times. When that space, that lease ended, we moved to another space, which was mine as well, kept that for about 2 years. And then I ended up selling that space, that lease, to someone else for the business. And then we moved twice after that. to where we are now. Yeah.
I know what that's all about. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
about what my church
sometimes
did too. Yeah.
you got to do what you got to do, as they say.
I felt like the itinerant preacher as we traveled around the east coast of Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
local in Connecticut?
We're in Mystic.
Mystic. Okay, so you're done by
Yeah.
the shore. Okay.
And Dan and Aristia started their church 2 years after I started mine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we kind of grew together and figured things out together along the way.
Which is how nice that works out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. But yeah, we have moved too. Yeah. 2
Yeah.
years here, 2 years there, 2 years here. Yeah. We're happy where we are now.
Yeah, and so are we. We have a nice arrangement with it's a Bridge is the Healing Heart Art Center. So we have one of their rooms. If there's ever a time where they have to use that room on a Sunday, they give us a different room. But for the most part, we have a beautiful room, and all the rooms are beautiful. They're just not as big. So we usually use the biggest one they have for our services. You know, it works out really nicely. Yeah.
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 So tell me about your other business.
So I do holistic events. I've actually been doing them for almost 30 years now that I look back on it. I used to have my own wellness center in Southington, and I had that for about 15 years. And when I had the wellness center, every so often I would put on a fair of different practitioners that would come in and offer different services, whatever that might be, readings, cranial sacral, reflexology, massage, Reiki, maybe natural products, organic products, wellness, anything to do with wellness or health and wellness, that type of product line, I should say, if you want offerings. And so I was doing them when I had my business in that location. In 2012, we had a fire and I was out of business immediately. As it were, I chose not to rebuild. It just wasn't the right time for me. I had just lost my nephew and my dad in the 20 days before that was my dad. 20 days before that was my nephew. So in 40 days, I had lost my nephew, my dad, and my business. And I just wasn't in a mental space to be able to move forward with making that decision. And it took me a while to make the decision to just decide not to do that again. And so after about a year and a half of kind of laying low and just surviving in some regards, I decided to look into doing them again. And a friend of mine encouraged me, and that's how I ended up getting that other banquet facility. I bought it from her, and I ended up doing my fairs there at that facility, as well as doing banquets and weddings and sweet 16s and baby showers and all those other kinds of things. And that's how the church ended up in that facility too. So that was about a year and a half after that, I think 2014 or 2015, somewhere's in there. And I had a 2-year lease, which I did a short lease because I wasn't really sure if I wanted to keep doing that. So, but as it turned out, I did want to keep doing it, but then the lease got pulled out from under me. So I had to move. But, you know, I continued to do the events. Which was the important thing to me, that probably 5, 6, 7 times a year, depending on the weather and depending on my schedule, I would put on an event and bring in vendors for the public to kind of check out, you know, what people did, how they did it, what offerings they had, and to be able to sample their services. We'd always have drumming or a healing ceremony or some kind of an event that went along with it, which is what I'm doing now. Like this coming Sunday, we have a big event coming in Bristol at the Bristol Doubletree by Hilton. And so we take over the whole hotel. We have 75 exhibitors. We have keynote speakers. We have speakers on the half hour. We have a closing ceremony, which is a drum healing ceremony. And we have all these exhibitors that have quite a huge variety of offerings. And so I've been doing that. This is our 6th biannual, and that'll be this coming Sunday. So it kind of morphed from my smaller events, which was renting a VFW or using my own space previous to that, into an organization of holistic community professionals, which is the organization that actually is showcasing this event. I'm the executive director for that organization. And so we've been putting on these events other than last year for about 5 or 6 years now. And it's been very well attended by the public. people love the offerings and love to see all the different ways that you can really emphasize your health and wellness in different areas of your life. And so we do have readers, we do have cranial sacral, we do have reflexology, massage, all those different offerings, as well as people who do animal communication or stone throwing or mediumship or, whatever their offerings are. Everything from soy candles to senior benefits. We have, state of Connecticut or other local organizations that come in that want to reach the public with their offerings. So the senior benefits is a new one this year, for instance. And, more and more of us are seniors. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
like me. So I think that's nice too, that they want to be part of these kinds of things where they can reach the public and show people, things about what benefits are available to people at certain ages. We got mental health people coming in. We have people who work with spirituality along with mental health, which I think is really great need nowadays, especially. Yeah. And our keynote speaker is wonderful. He's a naturopath. He's the integrative medicine director for Hartford Healthcare. And he's going to be speaking about COVID recovery, body, mind, and spirit.
Wow.
That's going to be a great topic at 1:00. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. He's so knowledgeable. So
Yeah.
I was thrilled when he said yes. I begged him for a while and he finally said yes.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it when it's getting out there.
Yes. And that was what's important, and people I think are ready to be out in the world again as well, for the most part. And want to know, like, how do I recover body, mind, and spirit from all of this chaos that's been happening for a year and a half, and it's hard to know what is right for you. And I'm not going to say there's a truth. I think there's truth for each person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you have to find that your place of where you resonate in that truth, So I think it's wonderful that he was wanting to do this. And I was grateful when he said yes. And then at the end of the day, we have a drumming ceremony with Craig Norton. He does drums, healing drums, basically. So he'll do a ceremony from 4 to 5 that anybody can attend as well, out on the patio and or the atrium. We're not sure which room which space we'll use, but it'll be for drumming, and he's going to be there as an exhibitor as well. So he's very, very knowledgeable in doing what drums can be. Well, anything sound is so healing. So obviously people resonate a lot with drums, and I love it myself. I ran a drumming circle for years at my wellness center, and I always thought it was wonderful.
Well, that's fantastic. Wow, that's terrific.
Yeah.
Tell me about this holistic community professionals that you are.
So we morphed out of another organization that wasn't suiting our needs, basically. And what happened was we started talking about, being more connected locally, because it was an out-of-state organization that we were originally connected to. And they just didn't really get Connecticut, I guess is what I'm going to say, or New England, even when you want to come right down to it, which is, we are a different animal in some regards. So what happened was we kind of got together and said, you know what, maybe we need to start something of our own and make it more member driven and something that really suits what our membership needs. So we are very member driven. They did vote me in as the executive director. Of course, it's a non-paying job, but I love it because it's another way of doing exactly what I love to do, which is bringing people to modalities that they may not be aware of or know that could help them. So we have a website, which is holisticcommunityprofessionals.org, and we are a nonprofit. And so the one thing that I thought was wonderful about it was we decided as a group, it started with 20 people, to make the commitment to do this. So we have our founding members who, put their money where their mouth was and helped us build this website and kind of got the ball rolling. So we've been around for, I think 5 years, maybe. Yeah, something like that now. And it's grown. We lost some people during 2020 because they closed their businesses, but a lot of them are solo entrepreneurs, solo practitioners, or people who saw people one-on-one. So there wasn't that ability to do that for a period of time. They literally, like myself, I couldn't even do events, we were shut down. but it's growing again, and we have more and more people coming into the organization. But it's a wide variety of people who do anything that has to do, again, with health and wellness in whatever form it might take, whether it's readers, marconics, we have reflexology, cranial sacral, people who do products that are, toxin free, people who do basically almost any type of wellness in any arena. And they're all members of the organization. We do meet together. Currently, we're still meeting on Zoom, although we're going to plan on doing probably we used to do quarterly breakfasts where we could network with each other. So currently we're networking online, but we are going to be planning on doing a quarterly breakfast again, probably in the fall, and where people can meet in person and then really network, in person and find out what each other does. So we support each other, and we also want to refer with each other. But we have an open website. People can search for a particular modality, a particular product, a particular person on our search engine, which that was another failing, that the other organization didn't have a good search engine. So like if you knew my name, name in,
you definitely need one.
Yeah, it didn't even come up. Like, that's not good,
No.
So
Absolutely.
we wanted to have a search engine that actually worked as a search engine. So that was part of the process too. With technology, you've got to learn to do a bunch of different things to make things work. So the organization is a wonderful organization. It's just good-hearted, integrity-based people. They have to have references when they come in. Everybody's required to have 2 references of either a client or colleagues or what have you, that speak to their integrity or speak to their business and to who they are. And so we feel confident that we can recommend these people to the public as a good person to do their work with, So I think that was important as well. We felt like that was a piece that was, when somebody's looking, they don't know if somebody has integrity. They don't know if somebody's good at what they do. They don't know if somebody actually can do what they say they do, So it's nice to know that you can refer somebody who's on this website, let's say, and they actually can do what they say they're good at, Yeah. And we partner up also with Natural Awakenings magazine. So they do in print what we do in person and on the web. So that's another, piece that they sponsor us as well with the expo. So we work hand in glove with both the Fairfield edition and the New Haven edition of the Natural Awakenings magazine. You might be familiar with them as well.
Yep. Very good.
We have our own page on there too. The holistic.
Good. Yeah.
So people who want to be advertised a little extra, they have a write-up in there, which is nice.
This is a little off topic, but tell me about houseboat rentals.
About what? Oh, houseboat rentals. So because I didn't have a business last year, I thought, well, what am I going to do here? I may not have one in 2021 either. So I figured I need to pivot, and I already own a boat, a houseboat. And I thought, well, other people are doing Airbnbs, and there was only one lady in Connecticut that was doing it at the time. And I really didn't like her location. I went to check it out. I was like, oh yeah, this is like, it was in a very industrial area. And I mean, that might be fine for somebody, but I just wanted something that had like sunset views or, scenic river views or something. So I went and checked out a lot of locations around Connecticut where marinas were. And as it turned out, I ended up on the Connecticut River, which I've been on the Connecticut River with my boat for probably 25 years now. And I do belong to a boat club, but you can't do rentals in a boat club.
Mm-hmm.
So I checked into a few different marinas, and none of them were like crazy about the idea. And I thought, well, I'll just keep looking. And then I remembered that I belonged to this marina previous to where I am now. And I thought, well, I'll call him and see if he's open to it. And he was all on board, like 100% from the get-go.
Wow.
And as it turned out, another friend of mine was selling his boat, which I bought. And so I have 2 boats on Airbnb that people can rent and stay on board. You can literally live on board. I had 2 guys came in from Pennsylvania this year in the month of June. They rented for the whole month of June. They thought it would be fun to, instead of being in a hotel room,
Yeah.
They were doing construction for like a subcontractor for Eversource. And they found me and said, can we fish from there? I'm like, yeah, we can fish right off the dock, So these two guys stayed for a whole month. We became friends, because I stayed on my boat, quite a bit. And the boats are next to each other, like back to back. So it was kind of fun. But yeah, it turned into, just another thing that I decided to do and see where it would take me, so to speak. And, I still have them for rent this year. And, I am, back in business again, but I didn't know that for sure. So I thought, well,
Right.
it can't hurt to have another little side hustle going on, as they call it, just to see how it does. I mean, I had people that said, my own family, oh, that's crazy. Why are you going to do that? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, because I think I want to. That's why I'm doing it. So I am, and I'm doing it. And I'm like, and if it's just for this year, that's fine too, So we'll see how that pans out. But I've had rentals already, and I've had people that, thought, wow, what a great idea. Like I could do a local kind of staycation, as they call it, right? Here in Connecticut, but have something different that you wouldn't normally have the opportunity to do. I mean, how many people own a boat that they can sleep on board and cook on board and just hang out, So
What a great idea.
why not?
That's great. I don't think they'll probably find many of them on the Airbnb listings.
No, there's very few.
Yeah.
There's only a few. I think I'm one of 2 or 3 in Connecticut. And I don't think there's too much in Connecticut. There's a bunch like in Newport area, obviously, a very boating type community. And then places in New York and Long Island and places like that, you can find them. So it's kind of cool. But the idea came from actually when I was trying to sell my friend's boat, and a guy called who said he does Airbnb boats. And I went, oh, that's interesting. So you just never know where your ideas are going to come from, but they come from phone calls sometimes too.
That's fantastic. What a great idea.
Yeah, I like it. It's fun, Yeah. And people like it. I mean,
I'll bet.
Yeah. I mean, you just don't get that. Again, like most people don't have that opportunity. You have to own a boat in order to do that as a rule. And so, most people don't own a boat, and I just happen to own a boat. So it just worked out. And and I'm happy doing it. I think it's fun,
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Another way of meeting nice people, right?
I love that. Oh, I think the nicest people, some of the nicest people I've met have been boat people.
Yeah. Yeah. We're a very friendly community of people. That's for sure. My boat club, any marina you go to, people are always super helpful. Any problem you have, they'll help you fix it. They're great that way, Thank God, because I'm not an expert at boats, but I do love my boat. So
yeah. That's wonderful.
That's enough for me.
Yeah, what a great idea. I'm getting sort of back on track.
Sure.
How does your family feel about all your spiritual goings on, enterprises, things?
Well, interesting that you asked that. Some of them are very skeptical about it.
Are they?
And yep. And then others are more accepting. I'm going to call it more accepting. I don't know that there was anybody other than my daughter who passed who really got it, because come to find out, some of the conversations we had before she died was about her spirituality, her ability to, she had the gift. I knew she had the gift when she was little, because I remember, and I didn't understand it the way I do today, but at the time she basically said, well, I just ask God and he answers me. And I went, interesting,
Yeah.
And she was probably 8 or 9 or 10 years old when she told me that. And I can remember it like it was yesterday. We were actually in this house where I live again, which I didn't live for a number of years. I'm circling back again in my life. We were sitting on the front porch of this house outside, her and her sister and I, and somehow some of this stuff came up and we were talking about it. And she said, I just ask and then I get my answers. And I'm like, well, not everybody can do that. I said, I have to really work at that in order to get an answer, meditation or what have you. And she says, oh, okay. Like, and it just was literally that short of a conversation.
Yeah.
But I didn't forget it either. And of course, years and years later, she went through her own struggles in life. And a lot of it started when her best friend died in a car accident, where she really went downhill in many ways. But she also, in my opinion, has and had the most connection to spirit and spirituality of my three kids that I could kind of really understand and see more so than the other two kids. And certainly in the last few years, especially, like she would come with me to the spiritualist church, and then we would talk afterwards, and she was on target. Like everything that she said to me afterwards, she goes, I knew this and this and this, and I would happen to know that person well enough to be able to confirm that what she said was accurate. Like she was able to do that. Unfortunately, she did pass, but and I think her struggle with her addictions and some of the things that happened in her life, she was not able to connect at times. And I think that was hard for her when she knew she had the ability, but then she couldn't do it because of those things interfering with her connection. And I've had lots of people give me messages from her since she's passed. So I know she's still, what am I going to say? I'm not going to say she's around, but she's around. Like I don't feel her, but other people do. And I'm sorry, I'm going to cry. I cry a lot still. It hasn't been that long. And I miss her terribly because her and I had a very special connection when it came to spirituality, and we really were on the same page when it came to understanding past lives, mediumship, people who've passed and all that. Like she would have conversations with people that mentored her in high school, for instance, who had passed. And so if there was anybody that really got me, it was her. And I'm not saying my other two kids don't support me. They do, and they're wonderful, but I don't think they understood it the way she understood it. And to this day, when I get messages from her, she says she's in a better place. She says she's happy, and I'm glad about that. But boy, do I miss her. She was she was such a good kid. She had a heart of gold, and she gave it all away. She gave all of herself to whatever she was involved in. And she used to help me out at my fairs, and she used to help me out at my store. And not that she didn't have her faults, everybody does, but she really understood me in ways that other family members don't. But I can say that my other two children have gotten more of an understanding of spirituality because of her passing, but also because of what I do. Sometimes I think they think it's weird that I'm a minister or that I'm, involved in this as much as I am. But you know what? It resonated from me from literally day one of stepping into a spiritualist church. I also belong to a recovery program that has been immensely helpful in helping me to cope with her death. Because there are other people who've lost their child to similar circumstances. And that's been, a big piece of it. So I have a lot of support in my life. But I can say that, there are people who just kind of look a little sideways when, I talk about some of this stuff, or they're not quite sure where I'm coming from. But you know what? That's okay too. I have no judgment around that at all. It's fine, whatever they want to believe and however they want to believe. And everybody comes to their own understanding in their own time. And if they don't in this lifetime, then maybe the next. And same with me. There's not everything that I understand either. There's people who know a lot more than I do. And I know that, but I also know what I know. And so I'm okay with just being comfortable in my own skin about what my spirituality is and who I am, and how my life works, and my connection with what I feel is my guidance, whether it be angels or God, or, guardian angels or masters or what have you. I do feel very much that I'm on this path for a reason, and I don't even know what's coming next. So that's okay.
Yeah. And we never stop learning.
Right. I'm a voracious learner too, I guess,
Yeah.
That's why I guess I always wanted to read, because I would read stories about people who did things, and I would be inspired by that, and so for me that was a big piece of my own growth in wanting to basically always know more. I'm a curious person, and whatever it is, I want to know more about it, until I'm satisfied, and then I'm okay. Okay, I know that now.
Yeah. So basically your family's behind you.
I would say for the most part, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they may not always understand everything the way I do, and that's okay. I don't think there's ever a chance where people can always understand everything exactly the way that you yourself do, because of course they're not you. So they're going to come at it from where they come from, and that's okay. My sister losing her son was really hard on everybody. My family losing my dad when he went, 20 days later, was just so difficult, and those are the things that in our case brought us together, and they recognize sometimes where we do get messages, like when the eagle flew over our house the day of my dad's service.
Oh my.
People were like, there's Dad.
Yeah.
I didn't say it. Somebody else did.
Yeah.
So there is a recognition that there's more than what we see in my family, So I thought, how great is this? And the other one is the hummingbird for my nephew, so whenever the hummingbird comes, that's Coulter, whenever the eagle flies, that's Dad,
That's fantastic.
kind of cool. Yeah.
Now, when you have someone new come to your church or ask you about it, how do you explain spiritualism?
Oh boy, I don't know that I do. I guess probably the way that I would describe it is, it's an understanding that life continues past what we see and hear here, and that we are able to connect with those who have come before us, and those who have passed, and those that are coming, and that there are people around us and guidance around us that are always trying to get to our conscious mind to give us direction and give us help and hope. And spirituality or spiritualism kind of makes that connection happen, or it's a little easier when you have enough people that are around you that can help you to understand it for yourself. I guess that's probably how I would.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Now, before you got into spiritualism, did you have another religion that?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. I was brought up Protestant, Lutheran, and I was one of the few people in my family that actually wanted to go to church all the time. I just liked it there. I'm not saying I went every week, because I didn't. But some of the churches where we lived were close enough for me to walk there, so I did. And then I had friends who were brought up in other religions, and I would go to their church with them sometimes. So I was kind of open to religion in general, because I just felt like religion wasn't a particular type of religion as much as it was a connection with God in my book. So I was fine with, going to another religion's services, and I also liked to see what was different and what was the same. Again, that whole curiosity factor kind of played into that. But I was brought up Lutheran. I was baptized. I was confirmed. I was when you're 12 or 13, confirmation. Was a big thing in my family, because of our German heritage more than I think the Lutheran heritage, or the Lutheran church. And then when I got married, I actually started going to a congregational church, and did that for probably a good 20 years. I started in the congregational church that was near me when I was married, when my kids were little. But I divorced about three to 4 years into that marriage and moved back up into the New Britain area and started church shopping with one of my sisters. And we would go to a different church every Sunday. And all of a sudden, I just kind of felt myself being drawn to this one particular congregational church. And I kept going back there, and I really liked it. And I was probably the only single parent there in the whole church at the
Really?
time. Yeah. I mean, we're talking 40 years ago, 35, 40 years ago. My kids were babies. But you know what? I liked it. I liked the minister. And I became a deacon in that church. I was very involved with them for a lot of years. And I was probably a member, I'm going to say a good 20 years, took my kids there. Church was a regular Sunday morning thing. We were always late because I had 3 kids to get ready, but we were there.
Yeah.
And it was a community that I enjoyed and have friendships from that time to this day.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. And then I didn't do church for a lot of years. I moved a few times and moved away from that area a little bit and didn't do anything until I came into the spiritualist churches later on, maybe 25 years ago. I don't even know when exactly I started, but at some point I did. I was introduced to the Newington Church, and I thought, I'm going to go check that out, and I would go every couple of weeks, every second and fourth Sunday. I would
Right.
be there.
Yeah.
And I liked it. That resonated with me as well. So that's how I ended up in the spiritualist churches. And in that meantime, at some point, I did the minister thing was through the esoteric organization. So I did it that way. I just felt like it was important. And I was encouraged again by another friend who is also a minister to just go for that. You know what I mean? And as it turned out, it worked out well because our church then needed one for a period of time because we had some people drop off the board. And so we needed to have a certain number because of our charter, So it worked out. It's working out, I should say.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you would recommend spiritualism?
Highly. I think it's very comforting. I just recently went to some good friends of ours. They lost the son lost his dad, and 2 of his sisters, and I'm friends with the mom too. And so 2 of the 4, I think there's 4 kids in the family. 2 of them passed in the last year, and then the father too, all in a very short period of time. Now the father was sick, and he was on hospice care, but still, it was just unbelievable that they were going through that much. And I can remember thinking to myself, when people talk about getting messages at the service, that they did like a gathering last 2 weeks ago on a Saturday. We went out to the service, and my son and my daughter-in-law and myself and my grandson, and I could see that he was talking about how he was getting messages from the beyond, not only from his sisters, but from his dad as well. And he was hurting over all of this because he's missing them, of course. Yeah. But he's also recognizing, like, I think a lot more people recognize now that there is more to life than what we see. And regardless of their religion, because I have no idea what his religion is or if he even has one, there was that whole piece of it that came into play that day. So I think a lot of people can benefit from understanding a little bit more about spiritualism because of our understanding where it gives comfort to those. I think that's huge.
I don't know how people do it that don't have this religion, honestly.
I don't either. I mean, like I said, I always felt like God would never give me more than I could handle, but I also felt like I don't think I could handle a child dying, not that I'm handling it well some days, but I am.
I know.
I'm still moving forward,
Now, your church is a Christian spiritualist.
We are, yeah.
As opposed to Newington, that is not.
Right. And I don't know there's a real lot of difference. I think there is some differences, but on the same token, I think, we all just believe that there's a lot of good in this world. I think that's the premise of, do unto others. You would have to do unto yourselves, Yeah.
I always tell people that come to my church, it's okay. It's okay if you still believe in whatever the Christian church,
Mhm.
taught you and that.
Yep.
It's okay. Because spiritualism is an individual religion. You don't
Right.
have to believe what everybody in the church believes.
Right.
It's yours.
Doesn't have to be that dogma or, our principles might be slightly different from the NSA principles, but they basically talk about a lot of the same things, so it's good, and I think that's what's nice is it ties it together, regardless of minor differences, because I think most religions have minor differences as I'm looking at them today.
Yeah, I think
I don't know. I'm not going to say I'm an expert in religions because I'm not. But from what I can understand, everything from Native American to, Muslim or Buddha, like there's so many similarities that we all share
yeah.
that the differences are minor, in my opinion.
And we all end up the same place.
And I was going to say, and we're all still one,
Yeah.
no matter what. I
All
think that
roads
gets
lead
lost sometimes. But I forget that we're all one. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, I know. No matter how we get there, we're going to get there.
That's right. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So.
And you know what? And some in this time, some in another.
Mhm,
That's
mhm.
how it is.
Now,
And
what do you say to the naysayers?
I don't know that I have a lot of naysayers. I kind of always just let people be what they want to be. Like, you can believe whatever you want if it's serving you. If it's not serving you, maybe you need to look at something else.
Yeah.
So to me, it's kind of a bottom line thing, that it's important that people find what works for them. And if your religion works for you and you're not suffering because of it,
Right.
then fine.
Yeah.
Then it's okay,
Mhm.
And maybe the next time around, you're going to find a different one
Yeah.
or be in a different one and you're going to learn more, or less.
Yeah. 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 No, I agree with you. I don't try to convince anybody of anything. It's like they don't believe, that's okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
I'm not going to talk you into it.
It's like anybody who doesn't believe, anything else.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'm not here to convince anyone of anything.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't think that's anybody's job. I think people need to come to their own understanding
Mhm, mhm.
as they are able to assimilate it. So
Yeah.
sometimes it takes a long time. If you're in your head all the time and you're always just doing the logic, it's really hard to get to the heart. It's hard to get to the spirituality,
Yeah.
and if that's the case, it's going to take a little longer and there might be a lot more suffering that I think is needless, but maybe that's the path you're
Maybe
supposed
that's
to
the
take.
path they're on. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
to get to where they need to be, and we never know what that path is for somebody else. And I'm not going to be presumptuous enough to say I have some idea or inkling about what that should be for someone and what it's supposed to look like for them, Yeah.
Have you ever had anybody come to church and tell you that they don't believe anything what you're doing?
Not that I'm aware of, although I have been to places where when somebody saw that I was doing an event and they saw that we had readers, she was like,
Oh, yeah.
that was evil in her mind. I'm like, well, I'm a minister, so I'm pretty sure it's not, but okay, you can believe that if you'd like, and that's okay, and I just let it be at that. So, again, and I have friends who believe that some of it's evil, and
Yeah.
I just don't, and that's okay. But again, I'm not there to convince them of anything or bring them over to my side, so to speak,
Right.
because there is no side. It's
We
all
had one woman in church one time whose daughter was very much, I think she was born again Christian.
uh-huh.
And she thought she'd bring her to our church just to see what it was like. Well, the daughter brought her Bible and she sat there and she read the verses out loud to herself through the whole service. The woman never brought her back.
Yeah. You know what? We have good stuff in the Bible too, but you can
Yeah.
also find places in the Bible where it talks about mediumship, spiritualism, and all the other things that we talk about, of being able to
Yeah.
see into the future and talk to people from the past. And, that's all in there too. They can choose not to see it.
Right. But
Yeah.
there's also a thing called respect. So you respect, no matter what you believe, what anyone else believes, we respect it you for.
And that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. And you know what? Some of this is all part of, the lesson. So
Oh, yes. Yeah.
to just allow them their
Mhm.
lesson and their
Mhm.
ability to find their own peace of mind. Again, I'm going to go back to the same thing. If it serves you and
Yeah.
you're not suffering,
Right.
then that's the place for you.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
if there are things, because there's a lot of religions that, there's a lot of suffering going on, and that's not to them necessary for whatever they talk about with their spirituality. And personally, I don't think God wants us to suffer in any way. Not financially, not emotionally, not mentally, not physically. I believe that God wants us to have full abundance, and that abundance prayer, that's one of the things we have at our church, is on one of the tables, is the abundance prayer. And I'll tell you, when you read that, it's like God does want you to have abundance. You cannot help somebody if you don't have it in yourself. It's the old, put the mask on the airplane on you so that you can help somebody else.
Right.
Otherwise, you're worthless. You're not doing your job, so to speak.
Now, what exactly is the abundance prayer?
Oh boy, I'm gonna have
Well,
to.
I'm not saying that if you can't remember it offhand. But
Okay, well, from the love of light that I am, from the heart of God that I am, from the love of God that I am, from the I'm trying to remember. There's a whole doctrine of it.
yeah.
I can send it to you. It's actually pretty awesome. I know when I have to think about it, I can't say it.
I know.
I tap to it a lot.
Yeah.
And so I'll, when I'm doing my tapping, I'll just say the abundance prayer, because
Okay.
it brings abundance not only to myself, but to those all around me and to others. And so one of our members actually brought it into church. And so we just printed up a bunch of copies, and we have it at church. And nobody's really talked about it lately, but it might be a good thing to bring up again, because I think abundance in all areas of your life is your birthright. And so, from the light of God that I am, from the love of God that I am, from the heart of God that I am, from everything that you are, from your creator, right? So why would your creator want you to have less than an abundant life in all areas?
Yeah,
So,
I have seen it before, and I can't remember where.
Yeah. I can shoot you
I
an
recognized it
email.
as soon as you started saying, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can pull it up on the computer right now, but I won't.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Fine. I just liked it because when I read it, I thought, wow, this is really powerful stuff. And so it is, you know what I mean? You just use that as a mantra, or use it as a prayer on a daily basis. I mean, everything in life really comes down to a daily practice, right? So, what is it you're doing on a daily basis that's bringing you to a better place, or a more spiritually centered place in your life regularly?
Right.
That's really what my goal is. and hopefully through meditation and prayer, I can get there on a regular basis,
Yeah.
But, there's some days that are tougher than others. Like anything in life,
Yeah. I think that's interesting, though, that you do it with your tapping, because I love EFT. I've been doing EFT since 2000.
Yeah.
And I did it as a business. I could have used your holistic community professionals when I was doing it.
Right.
You weren't around at that time.
No, we probably were not. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I think the tapping is great, and that's a good idea. I will print it out, and I will do it along with my tapping.
There you go. Yeah, it's always a nice little tool.
Yeah.
Have in your toolbox, and I think it's helpful for people to recognize that abundance is their birthright. Matter of fact, when I talked at the church on Sunday, that was one of the things that came up was tapping, abundance prayer, and doing things on a regular basis as a daily practice, whether it's prayer or meditation. Like I do meditation before I even get out of bed in the morning, and then I decide what I'm doing that day. I mean, obviously some days have to be a little more regimented in what I'm doing each day, but for the most part, that's important for me to make that little connection and just, kind of stay out of the fear and go into what is it I need to do today that's going to, bring me forward in what I need to do for, especially like this week. I woke up at 2:30 in the morning last night because I was worried about something with this expo because, when you're putting on an expo, you want people to show up, and you always think, oh, nobody's going to show up. But yes, everybody's going to show up. They're all happy to come, so I have to like literally, turn it around and use those affirmations and things like that. But I woke up, I remembered a couple more people that needed to get some emails. I literally sent emails out at 2:30 in the morning and then went back
have done that. I have done that.
Yeah. I mean, and so, because if I can't sleep or something happens where I wake up and that thought comes, I act on it and then I put it to rest, And so I had to do that last night and those things happen. And, there's other things I'm going to need to do today to do the prep work for this event and make sure I have everybody is, on the same page with, setups and load-ins and where they're going and which booth goes where. And, I have to lay out the room, so there's a lot of moving pieces. And so I think they kind of ruminate in your brain when you're in this mode, just to make sure that you don't forget anything, might be important. And so I just try to stay connected with, what spirit wants me to do. And I feel like anything I need to know will come to me without a lot of work on my part. So I just need to be receptive to that. And so that's kind of one of the things I think a lot about is being receptive and opening up to being, available to those messages as they come through. And I guess that's where when I say about intuition or, I found myself doing that a lot in my lifetime prior to this. When I would have discussions with people, I was actually channeling.
Yeah.
I didn't have names for any of the things that I was doing at the time until I came into spiritualism. How cool is that, right?
I think that's something that we all need to keep in mind is just keep ourselves open, ask for the help, and then listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So many times we ask for the help and then just go on our merry way.
Yeah. Ignoring it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you see it later. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah. After you've made the wrong decision. Sure.
Exactly. Then it was real obvious, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot to that, is remaining open and always being willing to change or pivot. Like I said, going into the Air BnB boats was a pivot because I just wasn't sure what was going to happen. And, was it necessary to do that? For me, it was.
I think that's fantastic. I really do. I love that idea.
Yeah. One of my girlfriends, she says to me, one thing I got to say for you is you really do know how to think outside the box. I guess I do. There is no box for me.
There is no box. There never
was a box. So, and that's a good thing.
Nope, there is no box.
Yeah.
We create our own boxes.
That's right. Yeah.
So
I'm not one who believes in limitations for the most part.
That's great.
Been kind of a person who thought anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Anything is possible.
And it is.
It is. Yeah.
It definitely is.
Yeah. And there's enough evidence out there to prove that.
Yeah.
So, all you got to do is look for it. And sometimes you don't even have to look for it. It just shows up, It's just right there in your face.
It is. And all we have to do is be aware.
Yeah.
Be aware. Yeah.
Yep. I can see it. You can see
it. Well, Shirley, this has been wonderful. I really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot myself. I know a couple of things that I'm going to include in my own meditation and in my tapping. And I'm going to print that out and take it to my church.
There you go.
It's great. Yeah.
I'll have to come down to your church sometime.
I'd love it. Love it.
Absolutely. When do you meet?
Sunday mornings at 10:30.
Same thing. Okay. Mm-hmm. We'll definitely have to connect again.
Absolutely. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. And you'll have to come to ours.
Well, I'd love to do that too.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm the one that does the booking, so you'll be getting.
Well, I don't know about that anymore. I used to do a lot of traveling. I don't anymore.
Yeah, I'm happy with if you want to do a Zoom one. That's okay too. Yeah, that's okay too. I look forward to seeing you again when either in person or on Zoom.
Absolutely. And thank you again so much, Shirley. And it's been lovely meeting you. And like I say, this has been a wonderful story.
Many, many blessings to you as well, Lynn.
Thank you so much, Shirley.
All right. You have a great day.
You too. And good luck with your expo.
Thank you. I hope I'm sure it will go well.
Oh, you know it will go well. It
Yeah.
will go well.
It will go well.
It will go well.
We will have an abundance of good happenings that day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Love the opportunity. You bet. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too, hon.
Yep.